Hi, and welcome to this Yin Yoga practice focused on the kidney meridian and healing, balancing reactions, emotions related to fear. So we can make this practice very trauma informed by really listening to what's happening in the body and taking a very gentle approach. If you just want to have a good stretch that will be focused on the inner thighs and the lower back, then use this practice for that as well. That's totally fine. But if you're going through a period of overwhelm or are struggling with feelings of fear, anxiety, worry, effects after trauma, then using a mindful approach with the shapes, the positions that we'll be using, the stretches that we'll be in, could be really healing for this practice. So if you want to skip ahead to the practice, there's a bookmark for that. Go ahead and do that. If you want to hear a little bit more about the focus and what the kidney meridian and the kidney is doing, then stick around for a few moments and maybe this will help to guide your thinking during the practice. So when we think about meridians are sort of lines of energy, connection, if you will, between different areas of the body, and they kind of centralize around an organ. A lot of the function in those meridians, yes, is to do with the physical health and balanced function of that particular organ or system. But there's also a psychological and emotional, even spiritual element to the role that that organ has in our life. So with kidneys, they're a really amazing bit of equipment. If you don't know, they're located, you have two of them, located sort of in the back area here, and they are responsible for filtering all your blood. So like 200 liters of blood a day, these kidneys are filtering, and they're getting rid of waste products and 2 liters a day. And in that balancing process, they're taking chemicals that are responsible for different functions in our bodies, hormones, minerals, and creating this like perfect balance in our body. Now, around those kidneys, we also have our adrenal glands, and our adrenal glands is where we get the word adrenaline. It's where our adrenaline comes from. So when we're having a fear response, adrenaline is getting released into that bloodstream, and it's to help deal with whatever threats might be coming our way. What happens in a sort of prolonged fear response, a trauma response, or anxiety is that worry is too much, too long in situations that we don't want it. And we're kind of experiencing a lot of adrenaline in times that doesn't feel useful or convenient, can feel very overwhelming and tiring. What adrenaline does is it affects a lot of other body systems. It speeds up the heart rate, it affects the lungs, it affects digestion. It even affects how our mind works. Our mind can be fixated on certain ideas or thoughts that feel like the focus of our threat. So those adrenal glands, not just responsible for adrenaline and that kind of fight or flight response, but they also have cortisol and a substance called DHEA that's responsible for balancing our reproductive hormones. So cortisol affects the way that we process glucose and all of these nutrients. So, if we are under threat, that we don't really need to be thinking about food. Our body can be kind of storing a little bit more, using things a little bit differently. And when it comes to reproductive stuff with DHEA, if we're in a time of really serious threat, our body doesn't really want to be thinking about reproduction. It wants to kind of shut that stuff down. So the kidneys and that whole area, the adrenal glands, are really responsible for not just, filtering everything through the blood, balancing those hormones, but also balancing a lot of chemicals and minerals that have to do with how we're going to end up feeling, anxious, not anxious, how we're processing our food, and even things like blood pressure. So when you think about the meridian links up to sort of traditional Eastern medicines and how they work with these organs, and not really thinking whether the kidney itself is healthy or unhealthy, but whether the whole meridian system of that organ, the kidney meridian, is either balanced or imbalanced. If that kidney meridian is balanced, people are seen to be very kind of optimistic, realistic. They have sort of a long-term focus. They feel like they have a sense of purpose in life. If it's imbalanced, there's a sense of fear, feeling maybe even particularly a fear of death, even if we're quite healthy. And also a sort of difficulty in setting goals, feeling kind of aimless, feeling like I don't know what my life's purpose is. Those meridians run from the foot all the way up the leg, the inner thigh, and then it kind of splits off. So part of it goes internally and it runs through the heart and the lungs and all that kind of stuff. And part of it is external, kind of running on the abdomen, the outside of the abdomen of the body. So we can see how it really makes sense, you know, the kind of Eastern idea of the meridian, and also what we know about anxiety and prolonged, you know, trauma reactions. You know, the way our heart, our lungs, our cardiovascular system works is very much related to those other kind of stressors that we have. So in this practice, we are going to be looking to stimulate, yes, that lower back area where those kidneys are, as well as the inner thighs. It also runs right up into the collarbone, so there might be certain times you feel like you can kind of stretch that neck out. If you want to work with this area, maybe just think about your breath and using your breath to send it to those areas of stimulation, and think about the idea of healing and balancing. To have a really trauma-informed approach to it, you might also just notice where your mind goes and where your emotions go, but don't necessarily respond. Be an observer. See your thoughts as almost like a separate thing that's going on, and then there's you. There's your thoughts and there's you. Same with your emotions. There's emotions and then there's you. Another thing you can do to make it very trauma-friendly is to be really kind to yourself. You know, we're not going to be pushing deep into stretches or making yourself feel forced or anything uncomfortable, but looking to create some sensation, a little bit of stretch, a little bit of stimulation, a little bit of compression, without that feeling of like, let me stretch, you know, let me force myself. And to aid with that, you know, you don't really need anything, but if you want, I mean, I have my yoga mat here behind me, but you could equally use just a towel or a blanket. I also have, yes, love, I have my yoga block. If you don't have one of these, don't worry. It's not really a difficult thing to get. You can get one if you want to. If you don't have one, perhaps a pillow that you don't mind rolling up to create a little bit of height similar to the block. You know, you could rest your hips on it or your chest on it or different parts of your body on it, or a couple of different pillows. It could just be a pillow from your bed. You can also get a blanket and kind of roll it up. And sometimes later on in the practice, a blanket feels really good if you want to cover up or feel a little bit more comfort, or if you want a little bit extra padding. All of that stuff, you can decide. So let's get started on this practice, working on the kidney meridians and balancing fear and overwhelm. Let's begin in a seated shape. If it feels more comfortable to sit on top of a pillow, I'm going to do that. Just helps to lift the hips a little bit, so maybe the lower back, the spine can be a little more upright, a little more comfortable. If seated's not good for you, then feel free to maybe lay on your back or any other shape where you can be very still. Maybe the eyes can close. If closing the eyes is not for you, then at least lower the gaze. Start to look at maybe a little piece of your mat or the ground so you can turn your attention inwards. Each breath, we're turning more and more inwards, more and more to the here and now. And for this moment, let's let go of worries or ideas about what being in the here and now looks like or feels like. Just begin to use your breath. Just feel very intensely the next inhale, the next exhale. Lengthening out a little bit, taking a little bit longer with an inhale, a little bit longer with the exhale. As you do, your face softens, shoulders soften. Acknowledge any thoughts that come, discomfort even with the stillness. Just acknowledge and see what you can do to breathe through it and remain observing. As you acknowledge yourself, let an intention arise, an intention for this practice. Could be even a single word, like healing. Could be a phrase. Whatever it is, say it inside as if it's already a reality. If it's hard to find an intention, an idea might be just to work with the intention of, I am safe. With your next inhale, lift the chin up to the sky, lengthen through the front of the body, the neck. If a little bit of movement feels good through the neck, feel free. Roll around side to side. I'm going to start to make a slow transition from seated or wherever you are down onto the stomach, onto the belly, facing the mat. Take some time just to wiggle those hips down into the mat. Feel the body on the earth. And then we'll start to bring the elbows underneath the shoulders. So we prop up onto the elbows, the palms of the hands facing down. Take a little time to adjust, find that perfect spot, roll the shoulders down and back. And what does that neck feel like doing? It can stay lifted with the face pointing forwards or be more neutral. You could also grab a prop, pillow, or something, put it underneath the chest if you'd like a little support here, if you feel like that helps. Or if you want a bit more height, or to intensify, if you put the pillow underneath the elbows, it gets a little bit more lifted through the spine. For those that have the yoga block, you could even use that under your head to take the tension off the neck. Or just with nothing. We have a little arch through the lower back there. And once we find that sensation in the lower back, maybe we feel the belly reaching down into the earth, the hips down, maybe even some sensation through the shoulders, the front of the neck lifting. And just begin to breathe into that arch in the spine. Imagine sending the chest forward or even upwards as the belly, the hips ground down into the mat. And breathing into that area where our kidneys are, right there. The back of the body. For that sensation, and then find stillness. There may be an impulse to move, but if it's possible to remain, if it's not painful, uncomfortable is okay, but if not painful, then just remain, working with that arch, working with that little bit of compression through the area of the lower back. And keep returning to your breath. See what your body has to say, what your body can feel right now. And keep observing the next inhale, the next exhale, resisting that temptation to move, to shift away. As the sensation changes, and it will over time, you may be able to deepen somehow to intensify that arch through the spine, to lift the chest a little more. Let's slowly begin to let go of that propped up position on the elbows. Bring yourself down to your belly. And this time, let's take that right knee along the ground, run it along the ground, making little goalpost cactus arms here. You can bring that right knee closer to the right elbow. The left leg is just out along straight. We're getting a little stretch through the inside of the thigh as we recover. Pointing the hips down to the earth. Ease out of this very slowly. So maybe propping the hands up underneath you, perhaps coming onto your hands and your knees. And let's sit back onto the heels. So this can be pretty challenging. You may or may not want to use something underneath the body. So if you have that block, this might be a good place to sit on it, give it a bit of support. If you don't have a block, you could use the pillow under there. And the other option is that you can stretch the left leg out and just have the right leg bent, and then I'll give you a halfway call of when to change. So the pillow or the block or even both. For some, sitting here in this shape might be enough sensation. If you feel like you need more, you can ease back onto those elbows, or even using behind you something to prop up. So as you lean back, you have a little sort of mattress to get back and down on. If easing the back down and behind is not working for you, then just stay seated and working with the sensation through the front of the thighs, to the top of the feet. The hands can also just be on the earth and the chest lifted. You don't have to bring the elbows down. Or again, one leg straight, and I'll give you a halfway call of when to switch. So now breathe into the front of the body where we feel it. Maybe bring your mind to that intention that you set. When the body is feeling a lot of intensity, it's really helpful to try and relax in spaces where it's easier. So maybe first through the face, the jaw, maybe the fingers and toes. Feel that softening here. If you're on one leg, get ready now to switch to the other side. So if you had right leg bent, extend right leg, bend left leg. If you're going to transition, just do that leg switch. Just make sure that you tuck your chin into the body before you ease yourself up, and be nice and slow with any transition you make. And if you are switching legs, just know that it can be very different on one side compared to the other. That's normal. You might feel it even through the knees. If your head is back, just let it be heavy. Remembering that Meridian travels also through where the collarbone is. So whether the head is back or not, lengthening out through that neck, breathing into that area. Releasing the tension where we can with every breath. To ease out, you want to get some support from those elbows. Start to slowly tuck your chin in. Slowly allow your body to rise up. Maybe crawling the hands forward, finding your hands and knees, and just releasing some of that compression through the knees. If you'd like to, take the hips back down to the heels and rest there. Go for it. Another option that might feel good is to run the arms underneath, crisscrossing under the body here, like giving yourself a hug while you're in this resting pose. Just an option to feel contained as we release some of the intensity of that previous shape. Breathe into your back. Breathe into the area where the kidneys are. And make the transition slow. Take some time for rolling of the neck, some cat-cows, rolling through the spine, before eventually we return down to the belly again. We're going to go for that little arch through the spine, that little bend through the spine, but we won't be here too long, so maybe it's just an opportunity to do the same thing once more, or we may be able to find a little deeper sensation now that we've opened up the body a little bit. So maybe that means the pillow goes in a different place, or just a deeper kind of arch. Maybe the head is lifted, the chest is more lifted. Being so gentle with the body here, like definitely feeling the sensation, but not forcing. More observing and exploring. Seeing if we can stay still as we notice what we feel. It's like saying to your body, I see you and I hear you and I want to know. Think about that compression that you're feeling in the lower back, and know that it's bringing attention, awareness, but also that compression is bringing signals to your body to send energy here, blood here, healing here to this area. Maybe those overactive adrenal glands, an opportunity to balance. Once again, we start to release down to the earth. Make those little goalpost hands, those cactus arms. Head turns to the left, and the left knee runs up the floor towards the left elbow. Just resting here for a moment. See if we can't square the hips down to the earth to get them nice and flat towards the earth, so we open up through the hip. Feel where you've released the lower back, and all the good stuff there start to flow. Slowly, gently bringing the left leg back. Hands under the chest, begin to push yourself up and back. Let's this time turn onto the hips. Maybe if you have a mat, you want to face towards the long side of the mat. Maybe not. Just bring the soles of the feet together. Feet, knees are out like a little butterfly. Lengthen up through the spine. And use an exhale to dive down in. You can pull in a little bit, but then once you find the depth, let's just melt. No forcing, no pushing. Option to turn those palms up to the sky so we can resist that pull. And this is another shape too, where if you need to sit on pillow or something to help get into the shape, make it work for you better, then do so. Don't worry about where the knees are. You can also place pillow underneath each knee to support. And once you find your shape, then shoulders roll down and away from the ears. I'm really feeling here both the inner thighs and the lower back. Breathe into where you feel it. Maybe imagine the energy line, the meridian of the kidney that travels through the thigh, through the kidney. Slow your breathing, knowing that the meridian also touches on where the heart and lungs are. So we slow and balance. Maybe repeating your intention. Letting that body melt in. Let the mind melt a little bit. More open, less controlled by thoughts, worries. More able to feel the breath, to connect inside. The transition here, super slow. Maybe take an inhale to prepare your body to move. Walk yourself upright very slowly. And recover in whatever way feels good. Maybe extend the legs out. Maybe knees are bent. Hands can come behind the body. We can stretch the spine in the opposite way. Reach the chest up. Front of the neck stretch. If you need some movement, go for it. Legs, knees, maybe side to side. Spine might move, lifting the heart and then arching in. Eventually, when you're ready, we're going to take the heels out as wide as we can, extending through those legs. Here also, pillow can be a really good friend. You can sit on it. We're going to start going down the side of the body, so the pillow also can be here to rest your arm on. We're going to start to walk the right hand down the thigh, or it may come to the inside of the leg or the outside. So here you can see if you need something to rest it on, go ahead and rest on there. And left arm either reaching up overhead or wrapping around the back. Do what you can to keep your heart facing towards a wall rather than the floor. And if you like the feeling of the arm up, stretching through the shoulder, great. If not, just wrapping it. Whatever we can do to keep the opposite hip, the left hip, down onto the earth so we feel the side of the body opening, lifting. Take an inhale, and as we exhale, just turn the chest to face over that right thigh. Let yourself just drape over the thigh. Feel the back of the leg, only for a moment. And then we rise up. Take a second. What's the difference between right and left? And then let's show the same love to the left side. Maybe that pillow comes down there. Maybe the arm just rests on the ground inside of the thigh or outside or on top. Whatever's going to work for you best, feel it out. Let's see if we can inhale, right arm up and over. Option to wrap it around the lower back. Right hip reaching into the earth as much as possible. Heart turned towards a wall, to the side rather than the ground. Feel that side of the body. Breathe health and healing into that side. Inhale. Maybe find a little bit more depth, explore a little bit. And then we'll be turning towards that left thigh. So just make that slow transition, just draping the chest over the left thigh. Let your head hang. Feel the back of the thigh. Slowly rise up to center. We're going to take it down the middle. So if you need anything to help you, you can set up some blocks, some pillows, a blanket. Those things can be maybe underneath you to support your arms or your head. Giving yourself a little bed to lie on if that's what's going to work best for you. Finding a way to settle into this really challenging feeling through the inner thighs, through the lower back, through the back of the thighs. Whatever that is for you, whether that's with props or whether that's just arms on the ground. If you're someone who's familiar with this shape, taking a more emotionally centered, trauma-centered approach might mean that you don't go quite as far as you normally would. If you're used to pushing into a stretch like this, maybe take, just a hair off where you would normally go. If you don't normally rest on something, rest on something. So you can really send that signal to your body that you're here to help, you're here for healing, not to force, not to push, but just to heal. And keep returning to your breath. Keep slowing it. That connection between our lungs, our heart, and our kidneys, how the kidneys regulate, how heart and lungs work, how fast or slow they go with their stress hormones, their adrenaline that they regulate. And we can also help that along by doing our part to breathe slow. When we are safe, letting the body know it's okay to slow down, it's okay to breathe slower right now. And slowly that will help over time with the level of adrenaline, with the level of stress or fear that we have. So right now, slow down. Allow yourself to melt just a little bit more for the last bit. Where is the body released that you can ease into? Notice the difference in the mind, the breathing, and the heartbeat. And as we ease out, commit to being super slow. Slowly easing the hands, the arms closer to the body. Slowly rise up. We ease the knees closer together, can bend them. We hug in and just curl up into a little ball for a second. Releasing that tension, that stretch, that compression. Straightening out the legs. Let's take a forward fold here over those straight legs, those thighs. And you have the option, if you don't like that, to lay down and just bring the feet up to the ceiling. Or even using something under the hips, could be your pillow or your block, to help elevate those hips and feet up towards the ceiling, just lengthening through those legs. If you're feeling a little bit, you have a deeper back bend in you, then you could ease the toes over the top of the head. Maybe support that lower back. Find a really deep back bend here. If you get into this shape, then keep your head still. Feet over the head and into your plow. And all of those are just options. If you like, just stay seated, folded over straight legs. Once again, the back of the body. We can send our breath there. We're going to feel through the back of the thighs. Help them to release by breathing. Keep letting go of tension in those shoulders as you melt into whatever version you're in today. Just melt. Returning to your breath, returning to your intention 100 times, 1,000 times, over and over. The kidney meridian affects how we feel, maybe our psychological state. Likewise, our calm psychological state can help these areas. So keep returning kindness and calmness, slowing down. Whatever shape you're in, carefully easing yourself out. If you're in your plow, carefully support your back as you ease yourself down. We're going to find a way to come onto our back. Give the knees a hug in. Maybe massage the lower back on the floor, rolling side to side or in circles. And then reach the right arm out to the right. Let's let the knees come to the left. Turn the chin away from the knees. Let's have a little twist here just to ease out the spine. Maybe even feeling it through the back, the middle of the body, those kidney areas that we want to heal, to balance. Really slowly bring the knees to center. Maybe giving another squeeze in. Before we let those knees fall over to the right, the chin can turn over the left. See if the shoulders will stay down as we just explore this twist through the middle of the body. You're feeling it through the hip and the thigh. We slowly ease to center. And extend the legs out long, arms by your side. Let's take your rest here, your final shape. Breathe slow and natural. And let your body just be held by the earth. Safe and contained. The longer you can stay here, the better. So if you have time, maybe just settle in. Stay resting. Begin visualizing that area, the kidneys, the adrenal glands around them, where you felt the sensation, the stretch, the compression today, breathing into those areas, sending healing. Sending balance. And if you're ready to move, maybe inhale, reach the arms up overhead, stretch. Once again, hug the knees in, rock around on that lower back. And if you feel good to roll onto one of the sides, right or left, go for it. Just rest there for a moment. And in whatever way works for you, ease yourself up to seated. Let's seal in your practice. Just coming to sit. Maybe hands rest on the lap. Maybe on the knees. Just feel what's changed, not just in the body, in the muscles, but maybe something about your mind, your thought process, your emotions. With an inhale, reach the arms up overhead, gather everything. As you exhale, take the thumbs between the eyebrows. May you have wisdom and insight. Thumbs to the lips. May your words be true and kind. Thumbs to the heart. May you be filled with compassion. The light in me honors and bows to the light in you. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice today. I hope that you found it restoring and healing, and I hope that you experience some good effects afterwards. Maybe just reflect on what you notice afterwards, any differences in your approach or your outlook. If you're feeling quite relaxed right now, it may be a great time to find a comfortable shape, maybe seated or your shavasana, and just have a little time of reflection, of meditation, maybe even some journaling. And I hope that you join me next time. Please go ahead, like and subscribe. I would also love to hear your comments, so drop them down below. Until next time, be well.